Welcome to Digital Hospitality. I am your host, Shawn Walchef. This is a Cali BBQ media production, and today we are going to start with a story. So I am a member of the California Restaurant Association, and they put out an email that they were doing a FIT program, which is a force-in training, and they were asking local restaurant leaders to come and help a high school with a program that they were doing to help them get prepared for the workforce, to help them with their resume, all people that were excited about culinary. And I volunteered to be part of the program. And that led us to today's guest, which is Howard and Debra Solomon of Salomon Leaders 2.0. Couldn't be more excited to have you guys on this podcast. This has been a long time coming. I know we tried to get you on the Behind the Smoke podcast, but now this is very exciting to be here at La Jolla, which is about 100 yards away from where I graduated high school, the Bishop's School, just right up the road here. So welcome to Digital Hospitality. Pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you very much. If you think you're excited, we're twice as excited as you are.
Well, this is something that's really cool because for 100 episodes of doing Behind the Smoke, I found that I have a real burning desire to share stories about people that are doing things, especially now in 2019, that are helping leaders move into this new digital age that we're going to be living in. And when I met you both, we both sat down at Cali Comfort in Spring Valley. You came out for breakfast. It was really just to talk about the syllabus, how we were going to help the children. I thought that we were going to have maybe a half an hour conversation, and I think you ended up staying about 3 hours.
Yeah, way past dessert.
It was way past dessert. I think that's just something special in hospitality and in life, that when you meet people that you feel a connection to, you're able to share stories, and we were able to do that in that breakfast. I was so impressed with both of you, with what you were doing with your new company, and I hope you could just give the listeners just an idea of what Salomon Leaders 2.0 is, what the vision is.
Okay, great. First of all, before we start, I got to tell you that, we love you. We love what you're doing. We love the barbecue. We love your podcast. And we believe that you're making an impact in the hospitality space. And that's great to see, because that's one of our goals with Salomon Leaders is to make an impact, especially with young people who are just starting off in their managing businesses and leading other people, to give them the skill sets and the tools that they need to be successful. So we have
agreed.
We have developed some. We've developed some coaching programs and some mentoring tools, and our main focus is on young people, to give them the skills that they need to be great leaders. What we found is, oftentimes these days, people don't grow up and say, "Hey, I want to be a restaurant manager." The hours are long, and there's this work-life balance thing, which is really important. I wish I had it when I was younger. So people are deterred from doing it. So what ends up happening is people become really good food servers, and they become trainers, and then they become key holders. And then owners and operators believe that they can manage the business, which is true. They probably can. They understand the checklist of how to open and how to close, and they're very detail-oriented. But then when it comes time to managing people, or leading people, or inspiring people, or motivating people, they really don't have the skill sets to do that. The only skill they have is to look back at their past life and see who inspired them and try to copy them. But we have, Deborah and I have developed these hard core values in teaching people, how to do that.
How did the idea of the company come to be? Because I know you have a background, Deborah, in public education.
Yes. So I really, probably about, I'd say 4 years ago, I had this great desire to get into coaching students. So I was working at a middle school at the time, at Meadowbrook Middle School in Poway, and I just loved the whole process of helping kids. I work with a lot of kids that were, they came from homes that maybe they didn't get the the best advice, or they were latchkey kids. They were coming into the house alone and didn't really have those parents to be able to like bounce things off of. So I was kind of that person. They would come in and they'd come see me. I was in the office. I worked in the administration part of the office, and they would come in and we'd have conversations. And I realized that I just so had this passion to work with kids and help them. So I kind of just started to explore more about, what I could do to help them with organizational skills, things like that, because I really saw kids coming in where they, didn't have their homework done, and they didn't know what their next test was, and they, just there were so many things that they just were missing on those organizational skills. So I just started to look into what was out there to do for coaching and see if there was something I could do for kids. And I realized, as I looked, I found that there was some programs that were online courses that I could take. And I went in and I started to take them, and it became the first one that I went into. It was more for kids with ADHD. Mm-hmm. So because our son had ADHD, and I thought, oh, this would be a great way for me to be able to help kids, because when he had it, I didn't realize that he had it at a young age. And so this was my opportunity now to like be able to help students, maybe not my own kid, but help them with that. So I took a course and I actually went off to Washington, D.C., where the course was, and I took a 3-day intensive training course for that. And it was amazing. I learned so much, and then I learned all of the coaching skills. So I decided to further my career in that and learn more about executive coaching, where it took me to leadership coaching. So, and then I realized, wow, there's this whole world out there that you can coach people just through conversation. And as you talk to them in conversation, you realize that you pull things out of them that they don't even realize that they know themselves. They
Sure.
have the answers within themselves. They just don't realize it until you're able to pull it out. So it became more about the listening aspect of it, and that's kind of what we teach when we teach our people now. It's all about listening and listening to people and what they have to say, and then bringing those by asking specific questions, bringing that out of them, bringing those answers out.
So who was listening to who when the idea for the company started?
We both became better listeners.
Yes,
Yes?
yes. Well, we've worked really, really well together. So we actually met.
Which is a challenge for a husband and a wife.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is. That, well, actually how we met. We met when back in 1988. The Hard Rock Cafe in La Jolla was opening up down on Prospect Street.
Wow.
Just
So
right down the street.
I just drove past Hard Rock Cafe,
Yeah.
which is now Better Buzz,
Better
Yes.
Buzz.
which is an incredible company, and they're
Right.
taking over San Diego.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's so impressive, and like that's one of the things is Hard Rock was such an iconic brand. But you guys met in 1988?
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Yeah. So we met in 1988. There was a huge long line outside the Hard Rock. There was probably about 2,400 people, I think, that were trying to get a job there.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, so grand opening.
Grand opening.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, opening staff. And I went there with a friend, and then we stood in line, and then I got an interview. And my first interview was with a manager named Jim Killam. And he interviewed me first, and they said, all right, I want you to move on to the next stage of the interview, and I'm going to have you meet Howard. So his name's Howard Solomon. I'm like, okay. So I met with him, and he was super cocky. He was like just sitting.
This is where I
That's what
don't
I
really
want.
remember
That's
that.
what I
This
want.
is the part he
Super
doesn't remember.
cocky.
Yeah. So he had a long ponytail.
A ponytail?
Yeah, he had the
Oh, we gotta get some
ponytail
photos
going.
in the
Yes.
show notes.
Yeah,
I
it
gotta
was
see
awesome.
that.
Had an
Yeah,
earring.
the
Fantastic.
earring, and then he was like sitting there with his feet up, kicked up on the desk,
That is
interviewing me.
not
No
true.
way. Ponytail
That
and
is
earring.
not the
Oh.
ponytail. The earring is
You have
true.
a photo of that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we're putting that on the show
but
For
the
notes.
sure.
but the feet kicked up on the desk. I don't think that happened. That's a little
Okay,
big
so
fish.
it did happen, and it's not big fish. And so I had gone to Nordstrom's that day, and I had gotten myself an outfit because I was like, okay, I want to look my best and everything. So this is in the 80s. So
This
I had
part's true.
I had the big curly hair, and then I wore a polka dotted dress, and I put on pearls. I'm from La Jolla. I grew up in La
Yes,
Jolla, right? So I
absolutely.
had to have my,
That's how
my
we do
pearls,
things.
right? So I show up for the interview, and he says, well, we really, really like you, at the end of the interview. And you're going on to the next stage of the interview, but I have to say, please don't wear polka dots and pearls. This is the Hard Rock.
It's the Hard Rock, right?
Look at me. Take from my example. I've got a ponytail and earring. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
So that's
no
how
way.
that was our first.
That was the first.
That's how we first met.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
What did Hard Rock do to gain such a buzz? Was it because of the rock star? Was it because of timing?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look
You know,
back on it now,
part of
like,
it's-
I mean, that's a lot of people lined up for an open interview.
Yeah.
Obviously, Prospect La Jolla, that's a huge deal.
I think those are the things that maybe attracted people to an ad in the paper to come apply for a job. But people stayed at the Hard Rock for a long time. Grew up in the Hard Rock, found someone they love at the Hard Rock and married them, all through the Hard Rock. And that was mostly because of the Hard Rock culture. Hired and trained and developed great people that believed in the brand, that believed in the same things that the Hard Rock believed in. A lot of things that were pretty unpopular, back then. One of them is love all, serve all. Everybody's created equal. There are no lines.
True hospitality?
Yeah, exactly. But
We're here to serve.
even in the close-knit group of people, that there were no lines between, ethnicity and religion and sexuality and everything else, that we were all one family, regardless of, what the law says of, race, creed, color, natural order, and that was
Sure.
true. We could say that as a country back then, but the country really didn't believe it.
It was fringe. It was more of a counterculture
Yeah.
movement,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yep.
And it was easier. It's always easier to do in the rock and roll, in the music side and on the hospitality side
Yep.
than it would be, just in mainstream.
Yeah. So once people came,
But you gravitate to it.
Exactly, and then you love it so much that you stay. So once people were hired and they learned the culture, I mean, it became this unbelievable family respect from a work relation standpoint. I mean, it was one of those places that, and restaurants themselves struggle with this, hospitality struggle, where there's this division between the heart of the house and the front of the house.
Yes.
There's two separate worlds operating within
One house.
And the Hard Rock really, at a young age, I learned, about that one house. It's a great word that you just used. And it was those kinds of things that really made it, one of my first lessons of great culture.
Yeah.
And took lots of notes. And I was a student of that culture learning. And the interesting thing was, I just learned this about 3 or 4 years ago. I went to a Hard Rock reunion of all the OGs, the original people.
Oh, nice.
And I remember just a really short story.
Great stories there.
I remember the first general manager meeting that we had was with 4 GMs, myself and 3 others,
Yeah.
at the owner's home in Beverly Hills.
No way.
And that was like the first, and you look at this huge company now.
Sure.
And that was the first, GM meeting. But
That's incredible.
my boss, his name is Jim Reese, who lives in Las Vegas now. He's the operator of all the Hash House of Go-Go's across the country. He told a story that I was just blown away by. Like, I had no idea. And I had opened up 6 of 7 Hard Rocks.
Wow. All here on the West Coast?
6 and 7 years. 1 in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, wow. Really?
A couple in Hawaii.
And these are huge operations.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking how many employees to open up?
Almost between 70 and 100.
70 to 100
Yeah.
employees. Wow, that's incredible.
And he said, one of the reasons why, he goes, do you know why we had you go from city to city and move you once a year and do all these openings? And I said, yeah, I was a cheap move. I owned a bed and a boombox and a TV and my clothes. And it was cheap to move me, and I was single. And
You were dedicated to the brand.
yeah, and he goes, no. And I go, oh. He goes, you understood us, and you held the culture, you held the people accountable to the culture. And we knew that if you went to a new opening, that it would be just like the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
And you were the single person that kept our culture in place, opening after opening after opening, which is almost impossible and for sure extremely difficult to do as companies grow.
Sure. I think.
And I felt really good about it,
Right.
And then I said, geez, it took you 25 years to tell me that?
25 years later, you finally get the pat
I
on the
finally
back.
got my purpose.
Yeah, right?
Right?
That's so. Was that when you guys decided? Was that I still want to know about this.
The
conversation
moment that we had.
because every
Okay, so
husband
you really
and
wanna
wife,
know the true
every business
conversation?
partner,
Yeah.
there's a conversation.
Yeah.
It's like you nudge each other in bed, like I've got this idea. Like
Yeah.
that's a crazy idea.
Yeah. So, it goes back a little. So we went to the Hard Rock. We first met there. We
Yeah.
worked together, right? then after that, several years went by where we had children and all of that.
Were you dating at the Hard Rock?
We dated at the Hard Rock.
Okay.
So it was very secretive. We didn't tell anybody.
Against corporate culture.
Yes, it was.
Still, even in that.
Yes, absolutely.
Still today, we pretend like
Sacrilege.
We pretend like hospitality people don't fall in love.
Yeah.
We spend all our time in restaurants.
Yeah.
in
Exactly. Where
restaurants.
else are you supposed to meet people, right?
So thus you sin and
Yeah.
you just pray for
Well,
forgiveness later.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
we dated probably for a good 5 months, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, before we started to tell people that we were dating, and
Yeah.
everybody was so happy for us. They're like, "Oh, we're just so happy for you guys. This is great."
makes sense.
Yeah, but his boss wasn't so happy. So his boss had basically said, one of you is going to have to quit. And then Howard jokingly said, "Okay, I'll quit." And he's like, "Yeah, that's not." He's like, "Yeah, that's not
knowing
who
well
I
they're
was
not
thinking."
letting you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was actually going to be traveling with my girlfriends to Europe for the summer, and I said, "Can you just at least let me finish off until I have to, go to Europe?" And I have a couple months left, so they said sure. And then at that point, when I got back from Europe, I had to go find my own job and go out and do that. And then shortly thereafter, he proposed to me. So we actually, probably from the time that we met until we got married, it had been like less than 2 years.
Yeah.
So when you
we
came
met
back,
in '88 and we got married in '90.
when you came back
Yeah.
from Europe, he proposed.
He did.
He
Yeah,
knew. It was
he
too
knew.
long. You were gone for too long.
Yes.
Well, if I was gonna
I
break,
was gone 6 weeks, and we were like the whole entire trip. And my girlfriends and I still joke about this today. That like I was on the streets of Paris crying, saying how I wanted to go home because I missed Howard so much.
that part's true.
Yeah.
That's
So yeah.
I mean, if you work for a company like the Hard Rock and you're gonna break like the cardinal rule,
Yes.
right? It better be with somebody that you love and
It's
you're gonna
forever.
marry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Correct.
so it was. And so I'll speed up the story because he wants to know how we actually did this now, how we got to where we are. So then we ended up having our children. We moved to Las Vegas because Peter Morton from the Hard Rock said,
Moving your children to Las Vegas.
well,
is a-
we,
that's-
sorry, we had our kids in we had Jason
First
in
one.
first one in Las Vegas. I'm jumping way too fast. Peter Morton wanted Howard to open up the Hard Rock in Las Vegas.
Which is the first Hard Rock in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where was it located?
It was on Harmon
Harmon.
and Paradise.
So it was a separate, not tied to a casino?
At that point, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was actually the second highest grossing restaurant in the country.
How much are we talking?
About 20 million.
20 million.
Yeah.
One location.
In one location. The
Unbelievable.
Yeah, the
How
one
much
that-
square footage?
I want to say 56.
56.
Yeah, it
Oh
was
my
small.
gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's some
Yeah, it was
serious
tiny.
volume.
And the
million.
restaurant that beat us was the Hard Rock in Orlando, which was almost 10,000 square feet.
Wow.
And that was like 22 million.
So per square footage, you were dominating.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
How many hours a week are you working?
Oh, geez. 60 plus?
Easy.
At least.
Is that just your standard answer? 60
Yeah,
plus?
60 plus.
Because I don't count them.
Yeah. But it was one of those things where, we actually opened up the doors early, every day.
because people were waiting
People
to get
were
in.
lined up. Yeah.
That's incredible.
And it was a beautiful thing because, 2:00 in the afternoon, you're in a city that never sleeps. So at 2:00 in the afternoon, people are getting up and they want to eat. 2:00 in the afternoon, 3:00 in the afternoon, people are just starting out their day and they're coming there to eat. So there was this normal dead zone in the restaurant, from 2 to 4, 4:30 till happy hour starts. I mean, we were busy. We were almost full.
Sure.
So we were full all the time.
I mean, the concept is just incredible
Yeah.
when you take a step back and think about what they did with, blending rock and roll culture,
Yep.
museum, the history. Every single location, you're celebrating artists,
Yep.
right? And you're using the artist to open up places, correct? And this is before social media, so
Oh, yeah.
it's before the power, the exponential power that they have to get
Yep.
that PR and that buzz. But people were still there,
Yep.
lined up.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 It was a great experience.
So then we were in Vegas. We were only supposed to be there for 6 months, was what I was told. Just a little.
Just to clarify that, I was told that too.
Yes.
It's not like I lied to you.
no.
Correct.
That's what we were told.
Leaps of faith.
Yes.
Yes.
So we ended up being there almost 5 years, and our son was born there. So the best thing that came out of Las Vegas
Yes.
was him. But living in Las Vegas was not so much fun for me.
Yes.
Taking a girl
Challenging.
from La Jolla to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. You're a very strong man.
So we ended up getting back to San Diego, and eventually we started our own company called the Salomon Group. And we had that business for approximately 14 years.
And the focus?
And the focus of that was consulting, and then we also had developed a secret shopper program.
Awesome.
And we were
Explain the secret shopper program.
So we were one of the very first companies to actually create a website. So it was all web-based. Because when we first started, we used to do them by hand. Like we'd have people go to a restaurant, they would go eat in the restaurant, they'd evaluate the service,
So
the food.
you'd hire somebody that came in to an organization to give them actual real feedback.
Correct.
Yeah.
And usually
Customer guest feedback
Customer guest
from the
Yes.
actual guest.
So at first it was sort of like just our friends. Hey, can you go eat at this restaurant
Sure.
for us, and we'll give you a free meal for it. That's how it first started. And we didn't really think that it was going to become a business. It never really had that intent to it. It was just sort of just snowballed into that.
Yeah.
And then next thing we knew, we were developing a website, and it was all database,
What
the
year?
whole thing. That was in 1998.
So right there, it's
Yeah.
Y2K. Though I graduated
Yep.
in Y2K. That's when the internet stopped.
Yep.
Or at least allegedly.
Supposedly.
That's
It
what
was
that's
supposed
what I
to,
was
right?
told. Yeah.
And the
Yes,
world
we
was
thought
gonna
everything
implode.
was going to blow up,
Correct.
but all of us were holding our breath that night. Yeah.
Correct.
So I learned a lot. We both did. We both learned a lot about developing a website. We worked with web developers.
You have no background
and
in-
no background at all.
Yeah.
But I just really, I've always been one of those people that's been very. I like to dabble in things and just sort of learn things. I was one of those kids that used to I was so interested in the telephone that I'd pull the cords apart and find all the little wires and how does this thing work and why is this one a push button and this one's a dial and how do you make it? How can I make that dial one like the push button one? I was very so. Anyways, I explored with the website, and I really got into the back end of it as well, and started to learn
Smart.
that part, as well with the web developer, and really worked closely
And
to
it's
develop
hard.
that.
It's humbling.
Oh yeah.
Because you realize how much you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that, especially with this podcast, is we're living in a digital age, and people, you either have to embrace that you don't know and get over
Yep.
that fact, and then just try to learn. I
Yeah.
mean, you just told me you just got a brand new iPhone.
Yeah.
And I remember I resisted iPhones when they first came out in only 2007, but I was told, it's the best thing. I resisted it, and then now once I got it, I was like, oh my God, I still don't know how to use
I
it.
totally agree.
It took a couple
I'm
weeks.
learning
but-
every day,
But learning is, and then it empowers you.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, look what I can do.
Yeah.
I can publish. I can send this link out, and I can send an email newsletter. I can put something on Facebook. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And you're learning that before 2000.
Yes.
With your company,
Yes.
which is really, really cool.
Yeah. And so we developed this amazing website, and the website basically was it had a front end and a back end, and on the back end portion of it is where I would basically schedule all of our shoppers, so they could go. We would go in, we'd put in the report like when is it need to be completed. The shopper would then go in on their end of it, and they'd have a username and password. They'd go in and they'd be able to see all the shops that were available. So they'd see a calendar.
Nice.
They'd go in, they'd log in, see, there's this shop happening on this
Self-scheduling.
day.
Self-schedule.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
And it became a nationwide thing. We ended up having
Cool.
accounts that were huge national accounts. So we had people working for us all over, all the way even through Puerto Rico.
Well, nothing's more important
yeah.
for a restaurant owner than feedback.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, in the days before the internet, we're begging someone to write a comment card, right?
Yeah.
Unless they said something, but now we live in a world where you can Yelp, you can tweet, you can put it on Google,
Yep.
whatever. But the real we need feedback.
Yes.
Yep.
Because it's no matter how much it might hurt, hey, these systems might need to change.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that set us apart from maybe other people that were doing it is our approach to the shopper report was, to help you learn.
Yes.
And learn from your mistakes.
Yes.
And teach people. Where I think some other companies were more about, oh, you got this bad report, you're in trouble, here's your
Discipline.
write-up.
Yeah. Ours was about catching people doing things right.
I love
So they
that.
do the
Do
right
it-
things
right
better
things
and
more
more
often.
often.
There you go. I love that. I mean, that's always the biggest fear is, well, why am I getting this information? Like, do you need an incident report? Like, because
Yeah.
something happened? Like, no, we just, the more information we have, the easier it is to figure out, was there were there variables that happened in that steps of service that caused us to fail?
Yep.
And once you know that, it's not about who that X server was. It's how do we teach all of our servers and all of our hosts and all of our managers to be aware that this has actually happened a couple times.
Right.
What can we do to change that?
Right. And when we go back to coaching, just to tie into what Debra said about coaching in the very beginning, is through the coaching method, people are able to think back on that situation and then how could you have done it better, or what would you have done differently, or if you took a different, we call it perch, you took a different perspective, what do you see? And we by talking or coaching to people, we help them get on a different perch. We help them either with empathy, empathy. What did that guest feel when this happened to them? And the light bulb goes off, and they go, oh, like if I was a guest, I probably wouldn't like that, or I probably wouldn't appreciate what I said to them. And they have the answers themselves, but as coaches, we help them see that and bring it out of them.
What to you is hospitality?
Wow, it's a big word. It's a big word, but I think it goes, back to serving other people because you love to do it. You really, really enjoy serving people and watching the joy on their face. If you go back to chefs that are really passionate about what they do, I love talking to people and that say that. And I said, do you ever go out into the dining room and talk to people? And the ones that say yes, and I go, well, why do you do that? Because I like to hear the comments. I'm there to hear the great comments. It makes me feel good because I know I did a good job when I make them feel happy, when they feel happy about the food I made for them. And if they didn't like it, it makes me a better chef. But when I talk to chefs and they say, no, I don't really do that, I kind of wonder, I scratch my head, like, so what's your purpose?
Yeah.
Well, I really like to create food. I'm a creative person. Well, you can do that inside hospitality or not.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that anywhere to fulfill that passion. But that hospitality is this true sense of making others happy, through food and beverage and service.
And the whole experience.
Yeah. The vibe and the way it looks, and everything else.
Yeah, I think it's something that's so important. I mean, there's a reason why people fall in love with the hospitality business and industry, and it's because it's the way you feel.
Yeah.
How you feel because you've helped someone else.
Yep.
Like you've impacted this family, and you've made this family's something tragic could have happened in their family, and they're coming to the restaurant, just as a place to gather.
Yep.
But you need to teach your staff to understand what are the clues that are going to help you know that, because every single table is different.
Yeah.
And that goes back to listening, which you guys were talking about before.
So listening is one of our key focus points when we coach people, and so is perch. Is looking at things from a different perspective. Both from a management point of view and from a guest point of view, from your staff point of view, and knowing that just things really aren't totally black and white. That we live in this whole big gray area, and understanding the other side of where we stand is vitally important.
Yeah. I think, one of the things for me is just, life is very short, and the amount of time that we spend in the restaurant business. I mean, I remember growing up and, living in La Jolla, and my grandfather would wake me up to go work in Spring Valley at our breakfast restaurant. And I was 12 years old. I didn't want to go and do that. I didn't want to go bust tables and wash dishes. It's like, Grandpa, why do we need to do this? And he was teaching me work ethic, but he was also teaching me something more, is that, when I was there, I learned what hospitality really feels like. When you welcome someone into your one home, like we said, it's not front of the house, not back of the house, it's home. And how do you make them feel? How do they feel when they leave? That's something that will last forever.
Yep.
That's not, we're not building a transaction to make a profit and to turn it. We're building something that we want to be in the community forever, and we want people to be proud that we're in the community, so proud that they need to tell other people about it.
Right. It's funny because people say this all the time. Politicians say it, comedians say it, people in entertainment say it. Everybody should work in hospitality.
Yeah.
At some point in their life, you can really understand, people.
Yeah.
It's a great business to learn empathy. That's for sure.
I think there's so much going on because you're serving people. So you're serving all walks of life, but you're also working with all walks of life.
Right.
And that's such an interesting dynamic. And you're dealing with something that is food. It's so subjective.
Right.
What we're talking about is food and service. But when you look at someone's Yelp reviews, I mean, the call to action, the reason why most Yelp reviews are written in a 1-star is because someone felt ignored,
Exactly.
right?
Which is not hospitality.
That's the opposite of
Yeah.
hospitality. So it's really, how do we find examples and how do we deal with the world that we're living in, the digital world? How do a small business, a restaurant, how do you find ways to interact with the customer so that Amazon, this Amazon experience that we're talking about, just
Right.
before we started the podcast, we were talking about, batteries, AA
Right.
batteries. And, when my son was born, my wife and I, he has this favorite toy that he liked and it needed batteries. And she, a couple nights in bed, we're like, oh, remember to stop by the store, to get AA batteries. And, a week went by and I still hadn't gotten the AA batteries. And we're like, we're just going to order it on Prime. And it arrived the next day. And like,
Exactly.
that's the hospitality that Amazon's providing that other people aren't realizing. And that's the thing that we all need to collectively in our businesses address, because websites, are they mobile friendly? How are you helping the guest when no matter where you are in the world, there's a village and there's a place, an eatery, a bar, somewhere that you want to go, a barbershop. Just example, for daycare for my son, we were looking at daycare. We found the daycare that we wanted on Yelp. We went to their Yelp page. They had Yelp reviews. They had updated photos. We went to their website.
I Yelp
their
everything.
website was easy for us to go and sign up to see a tour. Like, all those things were easy, and I did it all on mobile. And guess what? They have our business now.
Yeah.
And they've incorporated digital into their plan because they have an app where they show us what our son's done throughout the
Yeah.
day. There was a photo. He did reading. He did this. He did that. And for us, that's what we want.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
maybe because I'm a fringe millennial, and that's something that other people don't. Like they just want to trust that the person that I'm providing daycare is doing a good job. But for us, we love to see it
Yep.
because we see our son happy.
Yep.
We see him interacting with other kids.
Exactly.
We see him outside. Like, we know that his teacher is doing an incredible job, and they're on the cutting edge.
Right.
Other daycares, they might have incredible daycares. They might have incredible parents, teachers taking care of those kids. But if they don't understand that in order to sustain, you need to get this information
Yeah, that digital
online.
space.
You
Yeah.
need to get online.
Yeah, I mean, you are a fringe millennial, and I like to look at myself as being like the oldest millennial on
The
planet
elder
Earth.
millennial.
But we really, this past year, we really wanted to get into. I wanted to get into keynote speaking.
Yes.
Right, and we were just trying to figure out and migrate, like, how do we launch this? Like, how do we get this out there? And we ended up doing a video, and ended up doing an event for free, just so that
Sure.
mostly for the focus of getting this video.
Yeah.
And when I did this event, I was just focused on the video, and it went off so well that there was a standing ovation, and more people came, and the room was crowded, and I was like, I didn't really realize what had happened because I was so focused on this video. But then we produced this video, and then we posted it on social media.
Yeah.
And it was a big relief. And then we just felt like, okay, now there's this waiting game, like, who's going to
gonna
see
contact
it?
us?
Who's going to contact
Correct.
us? And I swear to God, within 30 minutes, I got an email
Yeah.
from somebody who just happened to be on social
Searching.
media
Yeah.
when they probably shouldn't have been because they were at work,
Sure.
right? And they saw the video, and the company was Compete, and they're like a huge hospitality accounting platform.
Yeah.
And they were having their user conference in Austin, and they saw the video, and they wanted us to speak.
Yeah.
And
That's where the opportunity is.
yeah, and since then, we've done 4 or 5 other events since then,
Yeah.
just because of the video
Sure.
and the platforms to present that video. And you have no idea what's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
So tell us about why. Why were you compelled to make the video?
Oh, because we knew without it, if we didn't have it, that how are people going to know about the way that he speaks?
Yeah.
You have to show people, right? So people, just like you said with the daycare, I mean, you want to know that, like, who your child is going to take care of them during the day. Well, it's
Yeah.
no different than if I'm going to hire a public speaker, I want to make sure the guy could do the job.
Yeah.
Right? So we had to have something that proved that he could do what he says he's going to do.
And how did you produce the video?
Yeah.
We had, make a long story short, we looked for people that could do a video.
Sure.
And there was a guy that used to own yoga studios that he always was into photography and video and things like that. And he did a lot of video for this yoga studio. and we saw some of his videos.
Awesome.
And then we contacted him, and then it just so happens that our web designer used this person as well.
Yep.
So we ended up knowing like a lot of people in our personal
Shout out
space.
to Kirk Hensler, Hale Productions.
Hale Productions.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He's awesome.
Yeah. And his wife Alexis.
And we caught him at a good time because he was launching his company, and it was affordable for us.
Yep.
And it was just good timing.
I mean, that's the most exciting thing is this intersection of marketing, media, business that's happening because of social media, because, you guys came to the realization that we need this video to present, to actually get more business.
Yes.
This podcast has allowed me to talk to people that I never thought I would ever be able to talk to, and in a way that we can share their story that might impact somebody that's on the other side of the world, that's hearing this information, which is so cool.
That you don't know.
You don't know.
You just don't
Correct.
know.
You
But
don't
it's
know.
out there.
It's out there,
Yeah.
correct. And for me, getting us here, talking about this, bringing in Blue Vision Entertainment, who's recording this podcast, they're producing the video for YouTube. It's so exciting because we get to go on different locations now with digital hospitality and go and have these conversations because they're important conversations. You said when you were talking that the person that found you, they were probably on social media when they were at work,
Right.
probably when they shouldn't be.
Right.
But the crazy thing is their work, wherever they work, should be on social media.
Exactly.
And they should be producing video content. Exactly.
Exactly.
Like that's the craziest
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
that's happening. It's like everyone's attention is on the phone.
Yep.
But if you're not on the phone, how are they possibly going to know you exist?
Yeah.
And like that was for us why we're turning our restaurant into a media company, essentially
Right.
becoming Cali BBQ Media, is because we want to teach other people
Yep.
that there's opportunity.
So
It's
important.
if you own a business, there's opportunity for you to bring in people that I'm not an expert in podcasting, I'm not an expert in video, but we can have that conversation and we can learn from people and we can find other networks, and it's amazing how small the world is.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about hospitality, because you asked me what hospitality is, and you told the story about how we met,
Yes.
through the California Restaurant Association
Correct.
and FIT, and how we've stayed connected
Yeah.
since that day. Well, the easy thing is not to stay connected.
Yes.
Like, why'd I have to stay in contact with you?
Sure.
And why'd you stay in contact with me? And I remember like when I opened up the food hall and you came by and I gave you a tour of the whole underbelly and how everything worked.
Correct.
Like why did we do that? Because there was this instant connection because we believed in the same things.
Yes.
Right. Well, this guy from Compete, his name is David Napper, and I met David Napper maybe 15 years ago, and he was peddling in the POS industry, the
Point of sale.
industry. It was called WaiterPad, I think it was a company, and they were out of Australia, and it was this true handheld.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, back then.
15 years ago?
15 years ago.
Wow, that's cutting edge.
And the restaurant I was consulting with was an Australian type restaurant with barramundi and Australian food and Australian architect and interiors. So it made sense to do this. Well, for some reason, David Napper and I stayed in contact all these years. And that's why we were friends
Correct.
on Facebook, and that's where the video was posted.
Wow.
Right? So he had a large part in helping me get that gig.
Sure.
And here's the funny story is I'm standing there, I'm about ready to go on stage, and the director of marketing is standing there with me in this 250, 300 people in this room in Austin, Texas. The lights are down, the room is dark, there's a spotlight, the stage is beautiful. And she says to me, so you do this all the time, right? And I go, well, what do you mean? She goes, you speak to people all the time. I go, yeah, I speak to people every day. And she goes, no, like you speak in front of a group of people. And I go, yeah, we coach people every day and we do coaching sessions, online. And she goes, no, like in a room like this. And she
Like
looks,
you're a public speaker.
Yeah,
like
and
you're
she
getting
looks into
paid
this
to
room.
publicly speak. You're
yeah,
like
this massive room of people. And I go, oh, you mean like in a room like this? And I go, well, to be honest with you, I go, this is my first time.
oh my
And
gosh.
she goes, oh my God.
Good
I go,
on you for the
I go,
honesty.
I go, don't worry about it. I'm going to nail it.
Awesome.
And just then, like, it was our time to go up on stage, but I can tell, like, she was just about ready to have a nervous breakdown.
What did we just do?
Yeah.
What happened? Did I make the right
Did I
decision?
just trust this guy, blindly?
That's
You know,
amazing.
but it was great. It was great, and we got clients from that group, and things have been snowballing. So
But yeah, to add to that though, like you were mentioning that because of things online, we're able to do our virtual workshops online.
Amazing.
So all of our leadership workshops that we do them through a platform called Zoom.
Yep.
And people just meet virtually with us, and we're able to actually have our workshops for
That's awesome.
for people from all over the world can join in, which
That's
is
great.
so cool.
And so important
Yeah.
too.
And we have workshops with I'm gonna call them students, from New Jersey, New York, through Louisiana, through San Diego and up Northern California, and they're all on at the same time.
Yeah.
And you, computer screens up, and you can see their little faces pop up, and
That's so
sometimes
cool.
if you don't see their face, they've had a rough morning.
Right.
Right? But they're there, and we go through a classroom type discussion, and it's pretty fluid. So they're able to ask questions in between, and people are able to learn from the answers from other people who ask questions. And then at the end of class, just like any other college class, some people click off and they're on to their day in their restaurant. Some people stay for a good 15, 20 minutes of question and answer. And it's sometimes people
incredible.
stay after class and talk to the teacher.
Yeah, right?
And it's great.
That's awesome. And I think I want to go back to the opening of the food hall because it's really important and share a story with you. So Sam, the cooking guy, was our first repeat guest on Behind the Smoke.
I love that guy.
So we met Sam because of the Del Mar Barbecue Festival that we put on up at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. He was a partner with the radio station, 1015 KGB, and he was doing things also, they were doing things with Del Mar. So they had him as a celebrity. Obviously, I know him, having grown up in San Diego, Emmy Award-winning,
Yep.
incredible cook that has just done incredible things in San Diego. But he contacted me, and as the organizer of the event, he goes, well, I want to talk to the organizer. So he contacted me, and it was within 1 minute that I knew that I loved this guy. Like I loved, because he cut the bullshit. He's like, I don't want to talk to a PR person. I don't want to talk to a marketing person. I want to talk to you, and I want you to tell me why I should be at this event. And like right at that moment, I knew that I admired him for his honesty, but I also loved him.
Yep.
He came on Behind the Smoke the first time, and he's published 4 books, did an incredible job. We joked about him. Well, why haven't you opened up a restaurant? He tells us his whole story. We're going to put those episodes in the show notes because they're incredible. But he tells us, I haven't opened up a restaurant. We had him back on right before he opened Not Tacos in the Little Italy.
Yep.
So we had him on. He was telling us, the whole journey of getting the restaurant open, all the challenges that he had. And then we said, well, I'll make sure I'm there opening day. And as a restaurant owner, people make promises all the time in life. They say they're going to do things. But for me, I find it important when you meet those special people in life, if you say you're going to do something, do it. So no matter what, I made sure that on opening day, I was going to be down in Little Italy. And I went with Derek Walls, who's one of our pit masters at Cali. And we went down there. We waited huge lines. We're watching Sam on Instagram, doing Instagram lives. We're watching him on Twitter. We're watching him on Facebook. The lines are growing. And, he has an emotional moment, that he just really started looking back. And, he admitted, he was just like, I was taken in because of all that I had accomplished. Like, this was the time. All the lines open up. We start going in. Everyone's ordering tacos, like all these incredible tacos. Right when I walk in, I look to the left, and it's Howard Solomon. And I looked at you. Right when I looked at you, I was like, Sam will do amazing. This location will succeed because you are here. You were behind the line, running the line as the chief. And I
was probably a wreck, right?
You were an organized wreck.
We served like 1,000 tacos in 3 hours.
Let's call it an organized wreck. But right when I saw you, I was so happy for him, knowing that he had somebody that had his back, that understand restaurants. And I told Sam the story. I actually called him yesterday and told him that we were going to have this interview. And I told him the story, and he kind of got choked up. It was like, how do you feel about Howard? And he said that that you're the sour cream to his gochujang. is that okay?
Yeah.
He said to put it better, you complete him. And I don't think, for someone that is he has 1 million YouTube subscribers.
Yeah.
So, he brought Max, his son, into his production, And when he did that, his YouTube channel took off.
Yeah.
He will be another guest on the podcast again, but him and his son. And he's just so incredible. He's going to have such a big impact, and he's only getting started, which is the greatest thing. He does want to know why you can't get rid of the small plates.
Okay.
Those fucking small plates, he says.
Yeah.
Why can't we get rid of them?
I'm cheap. They're cost effective, and I want Sam to make money.
Yes. So explain. I mean, that's the thing that people don't understand about the restaurant business is that you can have these great ideas, you can have this great vision, but you need the operations and the culture and all of the other pieces behind it. Because no matter what you want to do, it's got to get produced in order to feed those thousands of people that
Right.
want tacos. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many small nuances in that part. And I'll tell you, I was with Sam this morning because, we get together every month and we examine, what's working and what's, what tacos are selling a lot and the financial structure, its food cost, and, who we're buying from and how much we're buying it for. And we examine all those things. And plus, the cool thing is he develops a new taco, and then he asks me what I think of it. And
No
so
pressure.
And that's where the
The
honest,
tastings are always so much fun.
there are, and that's where the honesty comes in, and that's why we work well together. And people can say what they want to say about Sam, that he's not a chef, and they're wrong. He is a chef.
Oh,
And
100%.
He may not have gone to, culinary school, and he may not wear a white coat, and he may not throw pans and scream and throw knives like other chefs, but he's a chef. I mean, he's
100%.
a highly innovative, creative guy, and he's got an amazing palate.
Anybody that says he's not a chef has a problem with titles.
Yeah.
I mean, we in the barbecue, we have people say they're a pit master, whether they're a pit master or not. Like at the end of the day, are they a leader?
Yeah.
Are they a leader? Are they doing something that is admirable?
Yep.
Like that's all that matters.
And he's so incredibly passionate about what he does, and so am I.
Yes.
And I want people to love his food.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because Sam thinks it's great, because they think it's great too.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got to make money.
Absolutely.
So there's this financial piece to it. And just the small plates is one of them, right? So Sam wants to put.
It's hilarious
Yeah.
because I have these same discussions with my general manager and business partner Eric at the restaurant, because I want to do things, but it's not cost effective for him to do it and to do it on a scale.
Right.
So it's like when Sam told me about the little plates, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's hilarious.
So Sam wants to put this little 5-inch taco on a big plate. I'm like, no, you can't do that. That big plate is for 2 tacos.
Yes.
It's cost effective. And if our cashiers can sell 3 tacos and put 3 tacos on one plate, that's even greater.
Yes.
Like, that's fantastic. Let's do that all the time. But no, you can't put 1 taco on a big plate. And
No matter how it looks on Instagram.
right. And I'll plug a product real quick. But there's this Japanese mayo called Kewpie.
Uh-huh.
Right? Have you seen it?
No.
It's the best mayonnaise on planet Earth.
Really?
It's so delicious, and it is so expensive. Right? And he wants to make like curry egg salad and his tuna fish with this mayonnaise. I'm like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, once you put the eggs and the spice and the celery and everything else that goes into egg salad and tuna fish
Sure.
salad, like, you're not going to tell whether it's Kewpie or not.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get a great
Well,
mayonnaise.
you might at Sam's house.
At
if you
Sam's
come
house,
If you
yeah.
come over for a dinner,
Right.
But when you're feeding guest number
masses.
600,
Yeah.
at 7 p.m. on a Friday, you might not.
So we have the small plate joke, we have the Kewpie mayonnaise joke, and it's like this ongoing thing that keeps the conversation lively and friendly and all that kind of stuff.
That's
we're about. I probably shouldn't say this, but we're about ready to put some things on a secret menu.
Good.
And we launched tater tots.
Oh, really?
A while ago.
You got deep fryers?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And Sam made the seasoning, and then you can add cheese to it, which is the same cheese that we use for the mac and cheese taco with smoked pork. But we want to have like this cool thing just for like the neighborhood that they just know about this stuff. So we created these loaded tots, which are fantastic. And I did the cost out on it, and I think we should charge $8.50. And everybody thinks that price is too high.
No, it's not.
And I said, listen, I go, once people eat it and they share it, they're going to love it.
It's actually too cheap.
So
And
well, thank
I
you.
would need to look, but I mean, that's cheap.
Yeah, and I say, at that point, price doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like it's $15 or $20 for the tear. It's $8.50.
Yeah.
And if people love it and they crave it, they'll pay for it.
Absolutely.
And it's not that we're, you know, it comes in at right at the food cost that it should come in. So it's not like we're gouging, you know, the guest or the customer. It's coming in right where it needs to be. It's like right in that sweet spot.
Correct.
And that's where it should be.
It has to be.
You know?
That's the only price that matters.
Yeah.
Is the correct food cost price.
Right.
That's it.
So,
and if it doesn't sell, then it gets, you know, repositioned or it gets off the menu.
That's
Right.
right.
I mean, but
Or
you have to have,
reevaluated.
yeah, you have to
Yeah.
have those honest conversations
Yeah.
and look at things, no matter how much you might love an item.
And if we're true to being in hospitality and we have a conversation with somebody about those loaded tots, we should be able to tell them how much we love it, and
Yeah.
if we love it, they'll love it too.
Correct.
And that's part of that hospitality world as well.
Yeah. So when are you guys starting your podcast?
We're going to launch it by the end of the year.
By the end of the year?
We
Yeah.
are working on it.
Weekly
Yes.
podcast?
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah.
Okay, my advice is
So-
weekly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
highly encourage it because you guys have so much wisdom. I mean, the amount of things that I've learned just in our limited time together, you know, watching you present to the students. I learned something, obviously, sitting at breakfast today, and I think it's just something that's really exciting to have people with your experience and background going out and helping restaurants, restaurant groups, hospitality groups, because it's important. I mean, people will continue to do business, but business will change.
Yep.
And people have to make that connection to understand that how do we make something that works for our phone, for ordering online, but someone still has to go pick it up.
Yep.
And how are they going to get treated
Absolutely.
when they get picked up? How is it going to feel when they open up the bag and there isn't, you know, syrup for pancakes that they ordered? Like, that's digital hospitality. You better figure that out.
Yeah.
You better come with checklists. And you better figure out how that stuff is going to work,
Yeah.
because it's got to, right?
Yeah. And, you know, I refer to myself, you're on the fringe, I'm the oldest millennial. But if you're not pivoting and migrating and maneuvering around the world that we live in now, you're going to be left in the dust.
Yeah.
So if you're not being a student of the digital world, and all those platforms that we talked about today, from Yelp, you know, to Zoom, to, you know, even
Instagram.
Instagram and all those
Twitter,
things,
all of
Twitter,
it.
then you're going to fall behind.
Yeah.
You're going to fall behind, and your competition will eat you up.
Sure.
It's a great learning tool, and it's something that you have to embrace.
I mean, when I'm at home, eventually voice home devices are going to be so predominant that I'm going to say I want barbecue.
Yeah.
If Cali Comfort doesn't come up and you're within our service area,
Yeah.
then I'm doing a bad job as a restaurant
Yeah.
owner. You know, as the CEO, the chief visionary officer, I need to make sure that we're relevant.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise we won't be.
Yeah.
We won't be
And-
in business.
If you think about it, all the places that didn't adapt from self-serve, you know, pump your own gas,
Yep.
to ATM machines, those businesses that didn't have those things, you know, where did they go?
They're gone.
They're gone.
Yeah.
Right? And it happens all throughout the history of our
It
life.
keeps happening, but we keep ignoring it.
Right.
Netflix happened to Blockbuster,
Yeah.
and we thought it was a joke. Oh, that's cute. There's some, you know, CDs that come in the mail. Like, no, look what Netflix is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, look what Amazon
And
is
we-
now. It was a bookstore.
We
An
did it, but
online
we came
bookstore.
around at some point.
Yes.
We did it when we didn't want to switch to the iPhone, right?
But we
did
all
it
have
ourselves.
those. We all have those. You know.
Right. But eventually we did.
Yeah, you get
You-
over
you-
it.
you
and
see- you see
somebody
the-
tells you, "Hey, get over it."
Yep. And you see the vision.
Yeah.
And then once you do it, you go, oh, wow, it's not that bad.
It's empowering.
You actually say, oh, wow, this is better than I thought. Oh, wow, this is great. I mean,
Look at these opportunities.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and also to add to the whole digital hospitality is, you know, you look at restaurants now who are even introducing like their staff, you know, like via Instagram, and they're
Yeah.
maybe like doing like
Absolutely.
little things about their staff. I love
And
that.
their stories.
because-
Celebrate
And
their
their
yeah,
stories.
they do like a story about them, and then what a great way for you to sort of get to know somebody before you even go to the restaurant, or you,
100%.
yeah, you know, you go in and ask for them. So I love that whole aspect that people are starting to become more creative. It's
Sure.
not necessarily just about the food, because your whole experience
It's
at the
a
restaurant
it's a
is
recruiting tool
Yeah.
too. If I was going out looking for a restaurant job, I would want to make sure that whatever restaurant they were relevant on social.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're not relevant on social, why would I want to work there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think what people don't realize is that it just because maybe the owner doesn't know how to do a post or whatever, and they're not understanding social media, they have so many people that work for them
Yes.
that are, I'm sure, willing to raise their
Yeah.
hand and say, I'm here, I'll help you.
That's-
Let me do it. Let me take it over.
So key, and
Yeah.
that's the biggest key is that every single person, no matter where you are and what you're doing, if you want to learn, you can add so much value if you start learning stuff that people aren't willing to do in your company.
Yep.
Yep.
Because
And
you'll
that's-
unlock all kinds of magic that they never realized existed.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's part of what we do is we, in our teaching with these leaders, is we talk to them about empowering people. So, you have someone on your staff that is capable of doing that. Let them do it. Go
Yep.
give them the ropes. Trust them.
Yep.
We love when they do that because then it
It's-
takes something else off their
It's a
plate.
huge fear that
and it
people
gives them more
have.
space.
It's a fake
it does.
fear. That's
Yes.
like everyone's going to see this Instagram post and they're going to judge our company. Well, the reality is they probably won't see it, and you probably need to post a lot more.
Exactly.
Because if you post a lot more, other opportunities will happen.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And just a great story. I mean, part of, you asked what hospitality is. Well, part of it's storytelling.
Yeah.
You're telling stories about your restaurant and how it came about. You're telling stories about your staff. You're telling stories about your food, where it came from.
The
You know,
community.
the community.
The things that are happening, why people are coming in.
Right. And it's a great storytelling platform as the hospitality space.
Yep.
But I want to tell you one story because it's really great as far as digital marketing goes. I have a friend of mine, his name is Griffin Thal. And I met Griffin, he was in college, and he was a DJ that went to clubs, and he would bring people from college on buses to your bar or restaurant while he played music, and it was a great way for you to grow your
I
business.
like him already.
Right? And so he was working at a bar and restaurant that I was associated with in PB, and he was, I was part of the team that hired him. I love that guy. He had great enthusiasm, and he was really passionate about what he was doing. I mean, his goal was not to play music at a club. His goal was to make other businesses thrive through his vehicle, right? Which is his network of friends and playing music and that sort of thing. So he tells me that he's graduating college and he's going to go to Costa Rica for a couple weeks as a graduation present. And if he could have the time off. I'm like, dude, take 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
Go have a good time. You did a great job for the business. I love what you've done. You've earned it. You graduated college, congratulations, go have a great time. So while he's in Costa Rica, he meets these artisan bracelet makers, that hand weave these small, bracelets.
Yeah.
And he loved those guys. He says, I love to bring these bracelets back to the California where I'm from and sell them. So he cuts out a deal with these guys to make bracelets. Skip to 7 years. The guy builds a business. He's in retailers. He builds a huge online business where he gets young people to get a link, sell his bracelets. They get a little cut.
Influencers.
Yeah.
Influencers.
Yeah.
My daughter was one of them.
Wow.
She got a ton of product,
There you go.
Pure Vita.
Pure Vita,
Wow.
a ton of product, and got discounts.
I don't have one. This is a
We'll
Bulgarian.
have to give
We'll
you
get
a
you
Pure,
one.
we'll get
Bulgarian
you a
one.
Pure Vita.
So, about a month ago, Griffin and his partner Paul sell the company for $130 million.
$130 million?
Yep.
No way.
Yep.
Because of his Costa Rica trip and his
Costa Rica,
drive.
and
his drive to make others succeed.
Yeah.
And he posts on LinkedIn and social media this rating system. I'm not quite sure where it comes from, and as far as online retailers, and he is always in the top 5.
Yeah.
Small bracelet company,
Yep.
based here in La Jolla, just down the street.
$130 million.
Local surfer guy,
Yep.
college grad that just had this great vision and worked his ass off every day, and he built this brand on social media.
Yep. I mean, it's one of the things you have to stay curious and you have to get involved.
Yep.
I mean, you can be curious, but if you don't get involved and you don't do the work, nothing's going to happen, and no one's going to do it for you.
Yep.
And that's the bottom line.
And it doesn't magically happen.
Correct.
But once you put it out there, you don't know what's going to happen, so you might as well just do it.
Well, I'm so grateful that we met, obviously. I'm so grateful that you're here locally. but also that you're spreading your message on the internet and that you guys are going to start a podcast. How can people find you?
We will let you know, and then you can tell all of your people.
For the podcast,
Yeah,
but as far
but
as
for
far
now,
as
they
for
can
now,
find
they can,
us at.
Oh, sorry, misunderstood you.
No, yeah.
They can find us at salomonleaders.com. They can follow us on Instagram as well. We are Solomon Leaders.
Perfect.
So, and Solomon is all O's, Solomon.
Perfect.
Leaders.
Well, thank you so much. Everything we talked about will be in the show notes, and we look forward to talking to you guys next week.
Awesome.
Thank you
so
very much. We're
This
so
has been
grateful
fun.
for
Yeah.
you and all the things that you do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome.